as the question just popped up on the screen, what what do you think? First of all, I'll give you my, I'll share my thoughts after I get yours. I kind of know where
Mhm.
you're going already just from just listening to the Diamond stuff, but you know what where's the situation going? I mean, because it's getting to the point where you know people are weighing in on it. It's becoming a topic of conversation almost every. I mean, we haven't even talked about the Nets from a basketball perspective. It's just
Right.
literally been
Right.
James Harden's contract and Kyrie, and can he play home games, and what to do with Kyrie? Is Kyrie going to show up? Are the Nets going to trade Kyrie? This that, and the other. So what the Nets should do with Kyrie? How is this situation going to play out in your mind, or how should it play out in your mind?
I don't even know if there's a should. That's the thing. We're entering unprecedented territory right now. This has never happened. I mean, we're living in a weird time. So I don't know what they should do. I mean, you can say they should look to trade him because, we don't know if he's going to be able to play in Brooklyn. If the Nets and Knicks play a series, he's not going to be able to play in the playoffs. Like, that's insane to think about. Like, Kyrie's going to miss round 2 of the playoffs because, of mandates. But just coming from a basketball perspective, like, if let's just say I'm a team like I'm the Nuggets, right? I'm not saying he's a good match for the Nuggets. I'm just saying if I'm the Nuggets and I know that eventually I might have to go through Golden State, I might have to go through LA that might have their own mandates down the line. Why would I trade for him? It doesn't make any sense. I'm not gonna have him for games 1, 2, 5, and 7 in a playoff series. Why would I even give up anything to get someone who's not gonna be there during the most valuable games of the series? Now, I know they have exemptions, for instance, like work exemptions. I think in San Francisco, I think, or something like that, where like visiting team players can play. But like, let's just be honest. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if down the road, if cases start going back up, they kind of nix that and say, you know what, now it's everybody. You don't know where this is going to go. So to
And
me, I
how
think
fair is that to the everyday person, right? Like,
it's not fair.
if
Yeah.
you're a school teacher in Syosset, Long Island, and you can't fucking teach, if you want to have if you have some issues with the vaccine and you're just not totally comfortable with getting it, you're
Yeah.
basically facing losing your job or
Right.
getting it. And you've got $1 million athlete that's saying, I just don't want to get it, and we're making exemptions for him, but not
Yeah. They
said
use the
person. Is that
excuse.
that's not a
They
fair.
they use the excuse of like, well, they're not on the like if you play for the Nuggets, they don't work technically in San Francisco. They work in Denver and they're just flying it. Whatever it is, it's BS. It just is what it is. And I think that's what frustrates a lot of people, even people who are for the vaccine. It's just like these, or who have always been like pro mask and pro lockdown. It's just everything is so inconsistent. Like a lot of things just don't make sense logically. And I think it's really frustrating where it's just kind of like, what are we doing here? Like,
Right.
I should be able to know what the hell's going on and what the rules are and why they are the way they are. But regardless, just to digress a little bit, we don't know what it's going to be. And I think you would be foolish to take a chance on trading for someone who might not be able to play the most important games of the season. And then on top of that, Kyrie's the type of person to miss games for personal reasons randomly anyway. So it's like, to me, I think the Nets are stuck with him. I think they're going to pretend like they're happy they're stuck with him. And they're just going to power forward and just hope that, somehow, some way, our country becomes more comfortable and more lax with laws eventually down the road if, we can flatten the curve for good, and just kind of hope that happens during the season and hope that he becomes available if mandates are lifted. I don't know. I think that's the only option that they have. I don't think there's another option for this.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just don't know what the solution is. Realistically, I think trading him is out of the question. And I know it's the NBA, and you can, we said that thousands of times. Oh, you can't trade this guy, and this guy ends up getting traded. Or no one's going to take that contract. Sure. Person takes that contract, right? The NBA and sports in general, right? If you can help a team win, they don't care. I mean, these teams will sign OJ off the street if he could still, carry the ball 30 times and get 4 yards of carry. Doesn't matter. That being said, though, I think he's untradeable. I mean, because it's not even a simple situation of like, production, or he beat his wife up, or things that this kind of crosses a lot of different. You have a situation where he's unreliable. You just don't know. And listen, I like Kyrie. I think he is a smart guy. I think sometimes he's too smart for his own good. Totally warranted there, but. I do like Kyrie. I think he means well. I think he does mean well. I don't think he's trying to be a douchebag.
I agree with you on that.
I think he does mean well. But I think the problem Kyrie has, and I think it's I don't know if it's just people around him or people around him that are just not getting through him. It's like he kind of has his feet on each side of the fence. It's like he
Hmm.
wants to be a basketball player, but also wants to be, an activist or a revolutionary. And it's like
Right.
you gotta pick one or the other. You
Right.
can't. And if you're an athlete, you gotta abide by certain rules. Just like if you're an activist, you gotta live your life a certain way. You can't do both. Or I'll be an activist, but I'll also try to bring some of my activist views and ways into a business where you're working for a corporation, and then that's our corporation. The NBA is a corporation, and where you have to do certain things and you have to meet certain guidelines and criterias. And no, but I don't want to do that. I want to still be an activist. But no, pay me $29 million,
Right.
but I still want to do this. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. And
Yeah.
you can't have it both ways. And I think that's kind of the issue with Kyrie. And I think a lot of people's views on him in the media are geared towards that agenda of not liking him because they think he's aloof or he's a flake or this, that, and the other. And I think he is misunderstood in that regard. But then he does things where it's like it's hard to defend. And it's like this being one of them. Like, listen, regardless of how I feel about the vaccine and players and their stance on it or whatever, the fact is that we are living in a world and in a country where we do have a pandemic. It
Right.
is what it is. And there is a vaccine, and you're essentially telling your teammates that your own personal choice and views on this matter is more important than the overall goal, which should be to play and win and play for each other and win a championship. And not only that, but then how do you explain that to the staff of the call them New Jersey Nets, but the Brooklyn Nets? And how do you explain that to the concession worker, to the team
Right.
physicians or the team doctors, or the trainers, and the travel party, and all the people that work behind the scenes in an organization that don't get highlighted, that don't get covered, that maybe they didn't have a choice on the matter. Maybe they may have to go get a vaccine. How do you explain to them that you have this one guy, one of the most powerful people in their organization, just saying, nah, that doesn't apply to me, or I'm just going to skip out and not play home games? Like, think about that. Like, think about that for a second. You literally have a big three, and one of the big three is just saying, nah, I'm just not going to play. I'm not going to play at home this season. I'm just going to skip 41 games, just cause. Yeah, I'm just not. Like imagine if Shaq and Kobe, like Kobe just decided, I'm not playing home games.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just
Well,
not.
I mean, no, I get it.
or if Robert Parrish told Larry Bird and McHale, like, yeah, I'm just not going to play. I'm not going to play home games today.
Yeah.
I'm just not. It's just insane to think about. But going back to the overall point, I just think he's non-tradable. I just, with this issue now, and then the fact that, like you said, you just don't know what you're getting from Kyrie. He'll play 2 weeks and then he'll take a 2-week hiatus. He'll play a month and then he'll take a month off. And then on top of that, he's not exactly the most durable as far as just staying healthy. That's another aspect of this.
Yep.
He's, I don't want to say he's an albatross, but he kind of is. And
he means well. I think that's where a lot of people defend him. Yeah. Because I think overall he's a net positive in the sense. I just mean as a human being. I think he does a lot of philanthropy behind the scenes that people don't hear about. I've heard plenty of Kyrie stories, especially working the job that I have. Everyone has a take, especially when you talk to an athlete. Sometimes you get into conversations with athletes and they tell you, no, Kyrie's a good dude. I seen him do this. I seen him do this. So for me, I'm not going to knock a guy who's very charitable and does philanthropy. I do think he has a good heart. I just think from the whole time, I'm going to just talk about this issue. I'm talking about all the issues that I've ever heard him speak about, even ones that I agree with. Like, for instance, like when he's talking about racial injustice, sometimes he says things that don't even make sense, and I think that sometimes he has this mindset that he's smarter than everybody else. But if you're smarter than everybody else, you should be able to convey your points. You should be able to logically, lay out an argument. And he's never really done that for me. And for that, I think that's why he rubs people the wrong way. I think you have people who see that side of him and just run with it and just think he's completely toxic and a moron, which he's not. But then you have his most staunch defenders who are A, in love with his game, or B, see the philanthropy and see the good guy that he is, or A and B, and will defend him to the death, where the truth is more in the middle. He's a very complex person.
Right. There's extreme on both sides, right?
Yeah.
There's the people that love him and love his game. And because they love his game, they're willing to defend almost anything. right?
Right.
Without kind of seeing like, no, this is a problem. And then you have the other ends of it, the Kendrick Perkinses of the world, who have their own agendas and will knock literally anything he does just cause, and nothing that he does can be looked at as, okay, well, maybe let's look at this from a nuanced perspective. No. So there's extreme on both sides. And listen,
Yeah.
just because he's a good guy doesn't mean that everything he does is great. Like,
1000%.
or and just because somebody's a bad guy doesn't mean that everything they do is awful.
A
And
broken
horrible.
clock is right.
Right,
Twice a day. That's what they say.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So listen, Kyrie's very complicated in that sense because, again, I do think he means well, but I think this is a problem. I mean, if you're KD, I don't think KD loves this. And you could just tell, like, he's like over this.
He came here to play with him, and now he's not going to be playing half of the season.
Right. And then it's just like it's always something with Kyrie, right?
Yep.
Like there's just always
that's what it is.
There's there's the vaccine. There's the disappearing act for 2 weeks to clear his head. There's the injuries. There's the not liking Atkinson and him and Atkinson not getting along. And there's, there's this. And there's I love LeBron, then I want to get traded and I can't get along with LeBron, or I want more sign.
Yeah, it's the same thing where it's
in Boston where it's like I want to sign here and then I don't, then I don't want to sign here. It's like then I leave. It just there's always something with Kyrie.
And he's the constant in a sea full of variables. He's the one constant in every single drama or situation or controversy that's been in his career. It's always something with him. And at some point, you got to kind of just look yourself in the mirror and like, all right, what am I doing wrong here? Because I don't think he's absolved of any blame either with the reason why there's so much controversy around him. Always. It just always seems to be something. So I don't know. If I'm a GM, I'm not trading for him. Not because I think he's a problem, just because the best ability is availability. And I don't know if he's going to be around. So I think the Nets are stuck. I think that's stuck with them. And I just think they have to pretty much hope that the mandates, whatever they are now, get kind of eased off, or lightened or lifted or whatnot by April, May, June, which I don't know if it's possible in that short amount of time, but you have no other choice. I
mean, listen, we don't. It's even hard to speculate because we don't know what the world's going to look like. Hell, 3 months from now with this with this damn vaccine. I mean, with this damn pandemic, it's hard to say. Yeah. I mean, listen, I wish that these players were this passionate and this, extreme about their views about this vaccine. If they took that same energy and applied that to, I don't know, when they actually had power, a year ago and walked away and had a strike and actually stuck to their guns and not let Obama and other people talk them back into playing. I wish they would have had this much energy for that.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Well, there aren't many of them right now. That's the thing.
There aren't many of them, but there are some. There are some guys that are, Bradley Beal, Kyrie Irving. These are stars. Like these are stars. These are their names that drive.
And even guys like Draymond and LeBron with their comments have kind of just been sitting the fence and just being like not really taking a stance, but just been like, all right, well, personal decision and whatnot. Right. So, but I don't think there's like the Kyries, the Bradley Beals. There aren't many of them. If they are, they're not really speaking out. Like over 90% of the league is vaccinated. Mm-hmm. So I don't really think they have too many allies in that, to be honest with you.
True. But I also think it speaks to a lot of people's perception of the NBA that these are just kind of spoiled, entitled athletes that are self-involved and don't really kind of look at the bigger picture of like, this isn't just about you. This isn't just about, and I'm someone that likes to look at it like, yeah, of course, Kyrie's a great player, good guy, whatever. But, think of it as I'm some front office worker on the Nets. And I'm basically mandated to go get a fucking vaccine. But this guy who's making $30 million a year, and I hate when people say like, "Oh, it's not about the money," but it is. It's everything in life is about the money. Like, so stop.
Power dynamics.
It's a power dynamic. Yeah. We all go to work because we get paid. We don't go to work because we like it. Some of us like our jobs, and it actually adds to the fact that we like our job. But we're getting paid. We all have to put food on the table. We all do that, right? Same thing. If I'm some guy working in the office for the Nets at Barclays making $20 an hour, and I've got this fucking guy who's making $29 million, basically telling us, hey, I just don't want to get the vaccine because and I'll be willing to play home games. Like it just looks bad. And I know some people just don't care about that stuff, but I think that is something that definitely needs to be looked at and needs to be talked about. It's like, it's not just about you. It's not just an NBA story or an athlete thing. This is something that, affects everybody. It affects the entire planet and affects every single person.
But they are told that. People are told that.
But they don't care. But that's what it is. It's just like they don't care. They
Right.
don't care because there is an element of athletes that are just self-involved.
But not, but no one will say that out loud. That's the difference. What you just said, no one will say out loud.
And that's what, and you know me, I'm someone that likes to decode bullshit. It's like, no, they should say that. Just say like, yeah, it's about me. I think I am better than everybody else, and I shouldn't have to be. You know, I'm LeBron, and I'm going to use him as an example. I'm LeBron, and I make the NBA $200 million, and I should be treated to a different standard than the guy making minimum wage in the office. Like,
yeah,
whatever. I would at least respect that. Then, you know, this like fake, oh, well, I'm just, you know, I mean, Bradley Beal's comments on that press conference, you know, during the media day, I mean, he just sounded, you sound like a moron. Like you sound like a moron. Like you literally sound like a moron.
Yeah, but those things are things that people are saying all the time, every day. Like that thought process is also a thought process that is is kind of predominant in this country right now.
And we call those people morons too. So just because you make 29 million and you have a pretty face, you have a bag. It goes that way again. You have a bag, you know, doesn't make you not a moron. It just makes you a moron who has sick game. Like you're still a moron. Like, and that's again, it's dangerous rhetoric. Because again, a lot of people, whether we like it or not, look up to these athletes, look up to these celebrities, look up to these famous people. It's the same thing with the Nicki Minaj thing, you know. And I'm not one of those that like, oh, you're a role model. You're supposed to, you know. I fall into the camp of Charles Barkley. Like, you know, as much as I love NBA players, Bradley Beal's not raising my kid. I am. So I get that there is an element of that, but I do think that people do follow you, and I think that you have to be careful with the things that you put out there.
I agree.
Because, you know, I'm not saying you have a responsibility, but you do have to be careful because one of the elements
I would go as far as saying you have. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say one of the elements of fame and success is that people follow you and look at you for guidance, whether I agree with that or not. And if you're out here saying stupid shit or peddling misinformation, that's a bad look. The same thing for Nicki Minaj. Like for you to sit there and say your cousin's boyfriend, sister's ex-husband, whatever, you know, balls don't work because he got the shot. It's misinformation that's dangerous.
But not just that. What bothers me most about that is that people will see that comment and they won't even believe it themselves, but they'll latch onto it because it just fits a narrative and they'll run with it, whether they believe it or not, just because it's a dissenting opinion.